Wait, my mic is off. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first English live session ever made in this channel. You all probably know what we are going to talk here today in this episode. I mean, it's pretty obvious in the title. So we're going to read the first chapter of The Rational Male, the Bible of Red Pill. Let me tell you how I came up with this idea. The other day, I was the moderator of this live session that Jem Hoja made with Secret. You all know him. They all have a YouTube channel, and they all people who I work with. And they made an episode in English. They spoke with this Ukrainian woman, and I was moderating it. I was not in the show, but I was moderating it, and I have realized, well, they're doing something English, and I think I have a good English. People say that I'm fluent, and I read the Red Pill material in its own original language. So why not? Why not making an English episode? I mean, I am probably not capable enough. I have never done something like this in English, so I will try. I'm not sure if I would be successful with that. My English is not that good enough to talk about sophisticated matters, but I will try. And Rollo Tomasi had done most of the job. I'm just going to read it and comment on it. So, in this video, originally my wife was supposed to join us, and she was also supposed to comment on everything I'm going to read, but she's working. She has stuff that she needs to do, but I told her she can join anytime she wants to. So in the middle of the video, she could just come here and join us, and she could go whenever she wants. Yeah, so let's start. But before we do, I'm going to introduce this episode in Turkish for my listeners who don't speak English, so they would know what exactly I'm going to do in this episode. Merhaba arkadaşlar. Bu bölüm tamamen İngilizce olacak. Türkçe konuşmayacağım. Eğer İngilizce bilmiyorsanız ve İngilizce anlamıyorsanız bu bölüm size göre değil arkadaşlar. Yani sürekli bölüm içerisinde Türkçe açıklamalar yapmayacağım. Tamamen İngilizce konuşacağım. Kitabı da tamamen İngilizce okuyacağım. Yani bu belirli bir miktar İngilizce anlayabilen arkadaşlar için geçerli bir bölüm olacak. Ve ilerleyen zamanlarda belki kitabın Türkçe açıklamalarını da yaparım. Ama şimdilik İngilizce yapmaya karar verdim. Böyle. Umarım keyif alırsınız. Sorularınız varsa Türkçe sorabilirsiniz. Onları da İngilizce cevaplayacağım ama bölüm esnasında hiç İngilizce konuşmayacağım. Öyle yani. Devam ediyorum. Let's go. Okay. First chapter of this book starts with this amazing quote of the Matrix. Can you see here? Why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never used them before. This is a quote from the Matrix. Neo takes the red pill and he sees the reality as it is. And he says, why do my eyes hurt? Because he was trapped inside of the Matrix. He was trapped inside of a machine, and he never used his eyes ever in his life. And only after he took the red pill, he started looking to the reality as it is. And he have realized his eyes are hurting. It's because he has never used them before. Now, a similar sensation happens when you take the red pill. In terms of intersexual dynamics, it feels like it hurts because you've never seen the intersexual relationships as it is ever in your entire life. That's why you have such a big problem understanding and comprehending the realities of relationships, because there is one thing that you want to believe, and that is sweet, and there is one thing that is reality, and that is not sweet. It's bitter. It's bad. Well, when you think about it completely on realistic terms, it's actually reality mustn't be either good or bad. Reality is real, and that should be enough. But for us who stuck in the matrix for too long, almost all the time of our lives, we feel like reality is better, is bitter. Anyway, Rollo Tomasi is going to explain this better than I. Let's start. The basics. The soulmate myth. The soulmate myth. There is no one. Now, in this chapter, Rollo Tomasi starts with describing and defining what is one-itis, which is one of the most important definitions in the whole red pill. You must know what a one-itis is. And one-itis is this: an unhealthy romantic obsession with a single person, usually accompanied by unreciprocated affection and completely unrealistic idealization of the said person. There's no one. This is the soulmate myth. There are some good ones and some bad ones, but there is no one. There's no one single person. There are some good ones out there for you, and there are some bad ones out there. But there is not one special person that has created for you, which is something that you must understand, because a lot of us are believing in this myth because it has like literally linked into our brains ever since we have born. All the cultural stuff, everybody's talking about this. All the music we have listened to, all the books we have read, everything slowly but surely implements the idea that there is one special person that has created for us, and during the course of our lives we are going to meet with that person. I think this mythology came from Greek mythology, I guess. In Greek mythology, it is believed that people, when they have first created, they were one being, and then gods split them apart. So all of your life's purpose is to find your significant other. I don't know much about this myth, but you can correct me if it is like this or not. Anyway, continue. So there is no one. This is the soulmate myth. There are some good ones and some bad ones, but there is no one. Anyone telling you anything else is selling you something. Anyone telling you anything else is selling you something. There is not one special person that has created for you, and anyone that is telling you anything else is selling you something. And there are lots of special someones out there for you. Just ask the divorced, widowed person who's remarried after their soulmate has died or moved on with another person they insist is their real soulmate. This is what trips people up about the soulmate myth. It is this fantasy that we all, at least in some way, share an idealization of, that there is one perfect mate for each of us, and as soon as the planets align and fate takes its course, we'll know that we're intended for each other. While this may make for a gratifying romantic comedy plot, it is hardly a realistic way to plan your life. In fact, it's usually paralyzing. So in here, Rollo Tomasi talks about this idea that one special person that has created for you. It sounds very romantic in sitcoms and comedy shows and the books we have read and the movies we have watched. But in reality, it is very dangerous and paralyzing. That's why Rollo Tomasi starts it. I forgot starting with this. In the first sentences ever, he says, one-itis is paralysis. One-itis is paralysis. You cease to mature, you cease to move, you cease to be you. You become paralyzed. That's why in here he says, while this may make for a gratifying romantic comedy plot, it is hardly a realistic way to plan your life. In fact, it's usually paralyzing. So when you believe that there is one special person that has created for you, you become paralyzed. That's why it's a disease, because you stop becoming you. You stop discovering who you are. You stop trying to understand what do you really want from this life, and what do you really want from the woman you are going to be with, because you think you are predestined to be with someone that has created for you, so you don't have a right to ask. So that's why you meet with someone that is probably not the best person out there for you, but you believe that person is created for you and you are soulmates. Continue. What I find even more fascinating is how common the idea is, and particularly for guys, that a nuts and bolts view of life should be trumped by this fantasy and the area of intersexual relationships. So Rollo Tomasi says this idea is usually more believed by guys than women. So guys are more prone to believe this myth and internalize it so bad that it's their only purpose of life. A lot of guys out there, they believe that their only purpose of life is to find that special person that is created for them. And we all know how destructing of a belief that can be, because then you stop being you. Maybe you don't even start to discover who you are in the first place. Continue. Men who would otherwise recognize the value of understanding psychology, biology, sociology, evolution, business, engineering, etc., men with a concrete awareness of the interplay we see these aspects take place in our lives on a daily basis, are some of the first guys to become violently opposed to the idea that maybe there isn't someone for everyone, or that there are a lot more ones out there that could meet or exceed the criteria we subconsciously set for them to be the one. So Rollo Tomasi says here, when a guy has a little bit more of an intelligence, when he actually is able to think for himself, and when he is able to question what has been taught to him by the culture, by the government, by the other people, everything, by the matrix, if those people understand psychology, biology, sociology, evolution, business, engineering, whatever, if they have a concrete awareness about themselves and about life and about the realities of the world, or if they have this desire to understand the truth as it is, they are more prone to reject this idea that there are special ones out there created for us. There's one person that has been created for us. So these kind of men are usually prone to reject these ideas. Continue. I think it comes off as a nihilistic, or this dread that maybe their ego investment in this belief is false. It's like saying God is dead to the deeply religious. So when you tell these things to someone who's plugged into the matrix, you're literally telling them God is dead, because it is their belief. It is the thing they worship. So when you tell them there's no one, there's not the one for you. There are some good ones, there are some bad ones, but there is no one special person that has been created for you. It is as like you have insulting their religion. You are blaspheming against their religion. This is how they're perceiving when you tell them the truth, when you try to give them the red pill. That's why we say you shouldn't talk about red pill outside with other people. Continue. It's just too terrible to contemplate that there may be no one, or there may be several ones to spend their lives with. This Western romanticized mythology is based on the premise that there is only one perfect mate for any single individual, and as much as a lifetime can and should be spent in constant search of this soulmate. So strong and so pervasive is this myth in our collective consciousness that it has become akin to a religious statement, and in fact has been integrated into many religious doctrines as the feminization of Western culture has spread. So we understand that this myth The soulmate myth is the primary reason of why our current society is a feminine society. So this is how we, as a society, became more feminized. I think there has been a mischaracterization of one-itis. It's necessary to differentiate between a healthy relationship based on mutual affinity and respect and a lopsided one-itis based relationship. I've had I've had more than a few guys seeking my advice or challenging my take on one-itis, essentially asking me for permission to accept one-itis as a legitimate monogamy. But Rollo, it's got to be okay for a guy to have one-itis for his wife or girlfriend. After all, she's the one for him, right? In my estimation, one-itis is an unhealthy psychological dependency that is the direct result of the continuous socialization of the soulmate myth in our collective consciousness. What's truly frightening is that one-itis has become associated with being a healthy normative aspect of a long-term relationship or marriage. You know how I realized this? The other day, I've made a Twitter space in my own Twitter account in Turkish, by the way, and I talked about how every relationship ends. And this sounds like a very pessimistic idea because people who are in a relationship or married or they have a one-itis for their loved one, they are having an unhealthy relationship with that person, right? So they don't want to accept that their relationship will end. Every relationship will end because all life will end. We're not living in this world forever, guys. We're going to die. And maybe your wife is going to die before you, or maybe you will die before your wife. Maybe something will happen. There are all range of possibilities. But one thing is certain, that one day your relationship will end. I think even in a biblical sense, I discussed this with my wife. I think there are some theologians out there believing that when, in Christian faith, of course, when we die and resurrected in heaven, we are not going to be with with our, like, with the person who we are married to. We're not going to be with that person. We are going to, I don't know, but there's this idea in Christian faith. So it's not entirely something new. It is also, it's like when you look at the Islamic view of heaven, guys are they can just be with, like, as much as virgin women as they want, right? Anyway, but completely different ideas of heaven, though. Continue. So, wait, let me read this. I come to the conclusion that one-itis is based on sociological roots, not only due its being a statement of personal belief, but by the degree to which this ideology is disseminated and mass marketed in popular culture through media, music, literature, movies, etc. So in here, Rollo Tomassi talks about how this idea is implemented in our minds. It has sociological roots. And it comes to us and it's implemented in our brain by the popular culture with through media, music, literature, movies, everything that you can think of. So as I told you, I have made this stream about how your relationship will end, and there were people who are my followers for a long time. They are supposed to be red-pilled dudes, and they opposed me. And they seemed very bothered with this idea to accept that your relationship will end one day. And they were all like, if my relationship will end one day, what's the point of having a relationship at all? And these are the guys that are supposed to be red pilled. So it's like a lot of guys out there. Actually, I want you to question yourself as you are watching this show. Ask yourself, are you completely at peace with the idea that your relationship will end one day? If you're bothered with this idea, even in the slightest, maybe you need to internalize the red pill more, because maybe you're trying to escape from reality. Continue. Dating services like eHarmony shamelessly marketeer and exploit exactly the insecurities that this dynamic in, en, engenders in people desperately searching for the one they were intended for. The idea that men possess a natural capacity for protection, provisioning, and semi monogamy has merit from both a social and biopsychological standpoint, but a one-itis psychosis is not a byproduct of it. Rather, I would set it apart from this healthy protector provider dynamic, since one-itis essentially sabotages what our natural propensities would otherwise filter. One-itis is insecurity run amok while a person is single, and potentially paralyzing when coupled with the object of that one-itis in NLTUR. The same neurotic desperation that drives a person to settle for their one, whether healthy or unhealthy, is the same insecurity that paralyzes them from abandoning a damaging relationship. This is their one, and how could they ever live without them? Or they're my one, but all I need is to fix myself or fix them to have my idealized relationship. So in here we see another aspect when guys are believing the soulmate myth. Imagine you truly believe that the woman you are with right now is soulmate. So you immediately think that if I screw up with this person, I will lose my only chance to be with my soulmate. And if I lose her, I will lose happiness. I will lose the opportunity to have a good, long, satisfying relationship. It'll be over for me. This is what you think when you truly believe that you are with your soulmate. And when you truly believe this, what happens is you have this intense fear that you are going to lose that person. And that is the end of the world for you. It is the worst possible thing that could ever happen to you. So what happens? You lose the frame, you lose the control, and you start to do everything what your woman wants, because you're so afraid of losing her. I think in these chapters, Rollo Tomassi says something amazing. That is also one of the most important rules of the red pill. He says, the cardinal rule of relationships. In any relationship, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. So when you believe that the woman you're with is your soulmate, you lose all your power because you think that you need her so much, because she is the only person that you can experience love. So what? You need her. You can't afford to lose her. But the woman you're with, on the other hand, she has biological instincts that prevents her to idealize you such a way that you are idealizing her. Because men are more prone to idealize the person that they're with than women. Because when women are with a person that their hypergamic needs aren't met, they immediately lose their respect and desire and love towards that person. Because hypergamy cannot what's this word? Wait, I need to use tradutor. Cannot afford. Yes, hypergamy cannot afford to lose time. So she has a biological instinct that leads her to be with a person that her needs are met. And when you stop being that person, she loses respect in her desire for you and she finds somebody else. But a guy, if he truly believes that the woman he once was with, and or the woman that he wants to be is his ideal soulmate, he will wait for her for the rest of his life. There are guys out there who has a one-itis for a woman for decades, and they don't want to be with another woman. I I had guys come to me and speak with me. There are other women shows interest to him, but he doesn't want them. So he purposefully chooses to be monogamous and to be loyal to a woman that he doesn't even have a relationship with. This is how guys think, and this is what the soulmate myth can done to you. But this kind of obsession women can never experience, because their biology protects them and prevents them. Because if women would be like this, the humankind would not be able to evolve and come to this day and age. They had to choose the man that they're going to procreate with so carefully so the future generations might survive. Continue. This idealization of a relationship is at the root of one-itis. With such a limiting all or nothing binary approach to searching for one needle in the haystack and investing emotional effort over the course of a lifetime, who do we mature into healthy understanding of what that relationship should really entail? The very Pollyanna idealized relationship, the happily ever after, that belief in a one promotes as an ultimate end, is thwarted and contradicted by the costs of the constant pursuit of the one for which they'll settle for. After the better part of a lifetime is invested in this ideology, how much more difficult will it be to come to the realization that the person they're with isn't their one? To what extent will a person go to in order to protect a lifetime of this ego investment? Forever. At some point in a one-itis relationship, one participant will establish dominance based on the powerlessness that this one-itis necessitates. Exactly as I told you. Because as a guy, when you have a one-itis for someone, you lose your power. It is okay when women have less power than a man in a relationship, but it is not okay when a guy has less power than a woman in a relationship. So when you have a one-itis, you truly believe in your soul that the person you're with is your one and only option for love and for a happy life. That's why you're completely hopeless and you're paralyzed. And that's why you're weak. And that's why you're not desirable. And that's why eventually it ends. There's no greater agency for a woman than to know beyond doubt that she is the only source of a man's need for sex and intimacy. A one-itis mindset only cements this into the understanding of both parties. For a man who believes that the emotionally and psychologically damaging relationship he has ego invested himself is with the only person in his lifetime he's ever going to be compatible with, there is nothing more paralyzing in his maturation. When you have one-itis, you stop to mature. Because the whole purpose of your life is to be and to maintain with your relationship with your soulmate. In order for you to mature, you must put in the work. You must invest in yourself. But you can't do that because you're too busy trying to preserve a relationship that maybe that shouldn't be worth preserving. The same, of course, holds true for women. And this is why we shake our heads when see an exceptionally beautiful woman go chasing back to her abusive and indifferent jerk boyfriend. because she believes he is her one and the only source of security available to her. Hypergamy may be her root imperative for sticking with him, but it's the soulmate myth, the fear of the one that got away, that makes for the emotional, almost spiritual investment. The definition of power is not financial success, status, or influence over others, but the degree to which we have control over our own lives. Subscribing to the soulmate mythology necessitates that we recognize powerlessness in this area of our lives. Better, I think, it would be to foster a healthy understanding that there is no one. There are some good ones and there are some bad ones, but there is no one. So you understand? When you believe that there's only one special person out there for you, you are subscribing and you are recognizing powerlessness. You're saying, in the area of life, area of love, I have no power over my life. Whatever I do, that is the only person I can be with. And there are millions of other women out there, but only one single woman is my soulmate. I have no power over this. So I must stick in this relationship. And I must continue to what's this word? To be abused, to show temperance, sabır. Sabır neydi ya? To show patience for a woman who doesn't like me, who doesn't love me, who doesn't have a genuine burning desire towards me, who doesn't have any respect for me, but I still continue to be with her because I believe that woman is one and only out there that has been created for me. She's my soulmate. So I have to endure all the shit that she's bringing to my life, because it's better than loneliness, right? It's better than being alone and completely like accepting the fact that there's no love for me anymore. Remember, when you break up from a relationship, I think almost all of you have experienced this. When you break up from the person that you have truly bonded and you have truly loved, you feel like you will never love again. You feel like you will never find someone like that again. And it's over for you. This is even happening the most self-aware guys, because it's like you spend your years with that person, and when that relationship ends, it's like cutting a part of your body. It hurts. But part of this belief is because of this myth. Because we have grown up with this mythology infused in our brains, we have believed once in our lives that there's one person that is created for us. So even we know now the truth, when we are facing emotionally stressful situations, when we are facing depressed feelings, or when we are facing a breakup, that blue-pilled version of ourselves starts to kick in. And he tells us, that was your soulmate and you fucked up, mate. But that's not true. And if you are right now facing a breakup, and if you're feeling exactly as I'm telling right now, remind yourself, go to the mirror and say, she was not the one. And you will find someone better. There's no one for you. There are some good ones, there are some bad ones, but there is no one. Okay, how many people is watching us? 11 people in YouTube and 112 on Twitter. So guys, I would appreciate if you would press the like button and subscribe to my channel if you aren't subscribed yet. So also tell me if you understand what I'm talking about right now, because I don't know if the people who are watching me right now, I don't know if your English level is enough to understand what I'm saying, because I got to be honest, there are some sentences in this book even I can't understand right now. I mean, I do understand a little bit, but it is very difficult because Rollo Tomasi is such a good writer, and he's using very hard and complicated words. I mean, for a native English speaker, I think this wouldn't be a problem, but for us, I believe most of this audience is uh, bilingual. They're not native English speakers. So I believe for us, this is difficult. But I'm trying to explain everything to you in the most simple way. Um, Let me hydrate myself. All right, let's continue. Religion of the soulmate. As I told you in the beginning of this show, this is a religion, guys. This is the religion of the modern world. And in order for you to break free, you must blaspheme against this false religion. Continue. What you've just read was one of my earliest posts back in the social forums from around 2003 or 2004. I was finishing my degree then and had the fallacy of the one graphically illustrated for me in a psychology class one day. I was in class surrounded by mostly much younger students than myself, all very astute and as intellectual as they come for mid 20 somethings. At one point of the discussion had come around to religion, and much of the class expressed being agnostic or atheist or spiritual but not religious. The rationale was, of course, that religion and belief could be explained as psychological fear of mortality constructs that were expanded to sociological dynamics. But listen to this. Later in that discussion, the idea of a soulmate came up. The professor didn't actually use the word soul, but rather couched the idea by asking for a show of hands as to how many of the class believed that there was a special someone out there for them, or if they feared the one that got away. Damn near the entire class raised their hands. For all of their rational empiricism and appeals to realism in regards to spirituality, they almost unanimously expressed a quasi karmic belief in connecting with another idealized person on an intimate level for a lifetime. Even the frat guys and hookup girls who I knew weren't expressly uh, looking for anything long term in their dating habits still raised their hands in assent to a belief in a one. Some later explained what that one meant to them, and most had differing definitions of that idealization. Some even admitted to it being an idealization as the discussion progressed. Yet almost all of them still had what would otherwise be termed an irrational belief in predestination, or even amongst the least spiritual that it's just part of life to pair off with someone significant and there was someone for everyone. Statistically and pragmatically, this is ridiculous, but there it is. The feminized Disneyfication of this core concept has been romanticized and commercialized to the point of becoming a religion, even for the expressly non religious. The Shakespearean longing for the one, the search for another soulmate who has destined to be our match, has been systematically distorted beyond all reason. And as I'll elaborate later, men will take their own lives in the delusion of having lost their soulmate. He is so right in here. And this soulmate myth is mostly internalized, but by non-religious people. The religious people I've seen, they don't have this because, for example, in Christianity, like believing that love is the reason of your being is like it's blaspheme against God. what was this word called? It's like to we call this shirk in Islam. It's like you're supposed to love God above else, right? And that is the first commandment. You're supposed to love God above else, and God must be in the center of your life. But these people who are subscribing the soulmate myth, when you look at them, God isn't in the center of their lives. A special person is. But when you look at like the people who has a true faith to their religion, they don't subscribe to this idea because they truly believe loving God and believing God must be the center of their lives. So no another person can enter in there. So when you look at this, he's very right. The people who are subscribing to this idea, they are usually not believers. And the real believers are not subscribing this idea. I think this is they're not adopting this idea. I think this is a very special thing. Yes, exactly. Would you like to accompany me? Not right now? Why not? I even titled the video, The Red Pill, Reading the Red Pill with My Wife. Yes, so they were kind of expecting you. But if you have another thing to do, you can do whatever you want. You can come to the next episode. But if you want, you can come. Anyway, I was trying to convince her to show up. Let me hydrate myself again, and I will continue. Ah, 42 dakikadır İngilizce konuşuyorum lan. Devam. Okay. Soulmate men. So in this chapter, Rollo Tomassi is talking about the differences between men and women who are subscribing the soulmate myth. He's going to explain us the differences between the men who believe the soulmate myth and the women. So soulmate men. This perversion of the soulmate myth is attributable to a large part of the feminized social conventions we deal with today. The fear of isolation from our imagined soulmate, or the fear of having an irrecoverably lost that the perfect one for us, fuels so much of the personal and social neurosis we find in contemporary matrix of our society. For example, much of the fear inherent in the myth of the lonely old man loses its teeth without a core belief in the soulmate myth. Yeah, I talked about this lonely old man myth. It is very important, guys, especially if you are a guy who is in your mid 30s or in the beginning of your 30s. This is a myth that leads you to have rushed decisions about marriage out of the fear of missing out. You're so afraid. You're 30. If you don't marry now, you're going to lose that one special person. All these mythologies work together, guys. They all work together to lead you into a decision that you will regret for the rest of your life. Yes, the lonely old man myth is another episode, but he's just talking about this, so I wanted to explain. Continue. The fear of loss and the delusions of relational equity only really matter when the person men believe that equity should influence is their predestined one. Hello? Come. Okay, guys, show claps to my wife.
Hello.
Okay, let's put the mic in here. So say hi to people.
Merhaba arkadaşlar, nasılsınız?
Türkçemiz sadece bu kadar bu arada. Okay, she only knows a little bit of Turkish. All right. So the feminine imperative recognized the overwhelming power the soulmate myth had over men and women from the beginnings of its rise to ascendancy as the primary gender social imperative. Virtually all of the distortions of the core soulmate dynamic evolved as a controlling schema for men. When it is soulmate women who are the primary reward for a soulmate necessitous man, there are a lot of opportunities to consolidate that power upon. How you read this? Necessities?
Necessities, man.
Yeah,
A man full of necessity.
yeah. To be clear, don't think this is some fiendish plot of a femme-centric cable socially engineering that soulmate fear into men. Generations of men raised to be oblivious to it willingly and actively help perpetuate soulmate myth. So, what is your understanding about this little chapter we just have read? He
Those
uses
men who are just like in the matrix of feminized men, let's say, that believing that there is a soulmate for me, and then he internalizes this and lives for it, and it's very boring to talk to these guys, honestly. Like, I think my the boyfriend of my youngest sister is one who believes in that.
Oh my Deus.
Yeah, I think we are helping him right now. He's getting better, but
Okay, Rollo Tomassi, I love to read your book, but it is very complicated for me to comprehend sometimes.
he's using old English.
Yes.
Even for me, it's hard.
Continue. By the way, if you would ever listen to this, please unban me from Twitter. I know I have said some things I didn't mean, but I love to read your work. Please unban me, okay? Okay. Anyway,
Tomasi,
I,
why
I,
did you ban my husband?
I follow you from another account anyway. So all right, continue. Now we're gonna read the soulmate woman. Now here he's describing the differences between men who believe the soulmate myth and the women. Now we are reading the soulmate woman. Although hypergamy plays a large role in determining what makes for an idealized soulmate for women. You want to read?
Although hypergamy plays a large role in determining what makes for an idealized soulmate for women, they aren't immune to the exploitations of that core fear. Though it's more an unfortunate byproduct than an outright manipulation, I'd argue that in some ways, hypergamy intensifies that neurosis. An alpha widow knows all too well the languishing associated with pinning for the alpha that got away, particularly when she's paired off long-term with the dutiful beta provider after her sexual market value declines. For women, do you want to comment?
So I think here he talks about us guys when we are having a soulmate myth. It comes directly from our idealization. It's like, but in women's case, they have a like intrinsic nature, hypergamy. Like they are their nature already leads them to idealize someone. I think the difference is for us, the soulmate myth comes from the culture outside. We're not really biologically prone to it, but women, their sexual strategy is already to find the best man they can find. So when they truly believe they find the best man that they can find, I think it is more like an instinctual situation for them. This is how the term alpha widow comes to exist in red pill terminology.
Yeah, I read this before, but I forgot. For women, the soulmate represents that night.
Nigh.
Night.
What is nigh? What is nigh?
That night, an unattainable combination of arousing alpha dominance matched with a loyal providership for her long-term security that only she can tame out of him. Hypergamy hates the soulmate principle because the soulmate is an absolute definition, whereas hypergamy must always test for perfection. Hypergamy asks, is he the one? Is he the one? And the soulmate myth replies, he has to be the one. He's your soulmate, and there is only one of those. What a lie!
No, the other day I was speaking with Jemoja, and he has this episode how romanticism is invented by beta males for them to be paired
And-
off with.
And propagated by the cinema industry and all the mainstream to put in the heads of people, oh, this Disney world.
So it's like when women are being with a man, and when the man starts being incompetent, like being lesser of a man when he was when they first started dating. So the woman's hypergamic nature starts to kick in, and it says, "Look, this guy is incompetent."
Yeah.
But the belief that she is preconditioned says, "No, he must be the one." That's why Raul Tomas says hypergamy doesn't like it, because
because when it happens that the guy starts to perform what he should be, what she believed that he would, what happens is she starts to lose the respect for the guy. She starts to not wanting to have sex with her husband anymore. She don't want to be around. She don't want. Yeah, she is like she wants to give up on the guy, but she's married, right, to her soulmate. But right now, because he's not performing, the truth is kicking in, and now she don't know what to do.
I think this is how the stuff like chore play comes in to the picture. Do you know what is a chore play?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the woman in this case, like let's just say she truly believes that she's with her soulmate, right?
Mhm.
But now her hypergamy, like her perceives the guy as incompetent, so she loses genuine burning desire. When she
Yeah.
loses genuine burning desire, she doesn't want to have sex with him anymore. But she truly believes that she is with her soulmate, so she doesn't know why she doesn't want to have sex with him anymore. So she thinks, oh, maybe if he helps around the house more often than he should, maybe I would love him more. Maybe I would want to have sex with him more often. Oh, if he does this, oh, if he does that. And then the guy starts to be the dog, her bitch, basically.
I mean, no, not exactly that. The guy starts to be her housekeeper.
Yeah, this is more polite way of. Anyway, let's continue. Building the mystery. Due to this core concept and soulmate mythology, both sexes will seek to perfect that idealization for themselves, even under the least ideal of conditions and expressions, exactly as what we have talked about just now. We want to build our intimate relations into that soulmate idealism in order to relieve the fear and solve the problem, and most times so badly that we'll deftly ignore the warnings, abuses, and consequences of having done so. So I guess this is why people stay in abusive relationships, because they believe that the person they're with is their soulmate.
Yeah.
If they would believe that there are special, like there's not only one special person, there are some good ones, there are some bad ones out there, and when their relationships become toxicating and there's no point of fixing it, they would leave. Maybe the relationship wouldn't even come to that point, but maybe exactly because they're believing the person they're with is their soulmate, maybe that is the core reason why the relationship is being toxicating in the first place. What do you think?
Yeah.
that,
That is true, because there is not such a thing as soulmate. There is the person that matches better with you, what you believe, and love you build, you construct. You don't enter in a relationship loving love at first sight. No, that's a lie. That doesn't exist. What happens in the first sight is attraction. Attraction. And you cannot be with someone that you're not attracted to it. right? So yeah, maybe that could look like when people like, oh, my soulmate, because the person is like this, does that, it's just like me, oh, I gotta be my soulmate.
You know,
Even worse.
when you and I first met, I think we didn't have anything in common, right? Do we? I mean, now we do, but when we first met, I think
Yeah.
I think we had more things different than uh
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a complete lie. People say, "Oh, you must identify with her or him. You must have his or her. Like you must be completely the same as the other person." No,
So what this person is saying?
being my soulmate means
No, what he wrote in English?
being my soulmate
No,
means
sorry, in Turkish. Is that the same thing?
no. Here he's talking about when you see an alpha widow. Rollo Tomasi says to get away from her immediately. Do not engage with alpha widows. He's asking if it is correct. Yes, it is. Being my soulmate means tolerating every disrespect. I have to say, why should I choose this woman?
No, he's making a question. Being my soulmate means tolerating every disrespect.
Yeah. I mean, if
Not exactly, but that happens a lot. I have to say, why should I choose this woman?
I think you couldn't ask he couldn't ask the question the right way. Most of this audience doesn't speak English well, and the ones they do, even if they exist in this 167 people watching me right now.
I'm not sure if I understood the question. I have to say, why should I choose this woman? Maybe can you elaborate more the question, use another words? But I don't think, like, when someone believes soulmates tolerating every disrespect, that will go person to person. Some people would say, yes, it's my soulmate, so I gotta do what I gotta do, right? But it doesn't mean that you have to tolerate everything.
But it's not about have to. It's about they do, because it's like when you truly believe that you are with your soulmate, in one way of your heart, you believe and acknowledge that that person is one and only that you can be with. So you are more afraid of losing that person because they're one and only for you. And when you're
accepting any kind of disrespect,
when you're more afraid, that's when things start going bad. All right. Where were we?
Here.
However, these are the points of origin for.
No, you didn't finish this.
Okay. Sorry. For women, the impact of the most significant alpha male is what initially defines that soulmate idealization. For men, it may be the first woman to become sexual with him, or the one who best exemplifies a woman he mistakenly believes can love him in a male-defined orientation of love. So we see here the main difference between the soulmate myth of women and men. Women, for them to have a soulmate belief for a man, they must have a kind of experience with the person. But us guys, we're more prone to love a woman and idealize a woman, even if we don't have much experience with her. However, these are the points of origin for building that soulmate ideal upon. This ideal is then compounded upon with layers of investments in the hopes that this person might actually be the one fate has prescribed for them. Emotional investment, personal, financial, even life potential investments and sacrifices then follow in an effort to create a soulmate. In the absence of an ideal, one must be created from available resources. So this is what happens. That ideal person doesn't exist, right? So what you do, you start to idealize the first person that you see. You have an idea in your mind of a person that you would like to be with, and you completely put that, project that idealization upon the person you're with, and you don't even maybe know and understand who exactly are the person you're with. This is what the soulmate myth makes of you. You are completely out of reality. You don't understand or know who is this person you're with.
Yeah, because when you go in that myth, you it's kind of, you make a story in your head and you fantasize. You put a cover in this person, and this person you think is this, that, blah blah blah. But it's only in your thoughts, because that person is not any what you have idealized in this way, right? So yeah, then ended up a day. So we have a saying in Christianity, for you to know someone, maybe this is just a Brazilian thing, but Christians use a lot because it reflects to some parables, whatever. So the point is, it says, for you to know someone, you first gotta eat 1 kilogram of salt with this person. Tus?
Yeah, salt.
Tus.
Tools.
Yeah. So why? Can you imagine you eating 1 kilogram of salt? How long that takes? A lot, like months. So yeah, it takes you some time to really know someone, and then some people, when like you live in a house, the person lives in another house, you fantasize, you create a whole idea of that person, and then later on you find out, oops.
Okay. However, these are the, oh wait, this process is why I say the soulmate myth is ridiculous. It is psychologically much more pragmatic to construct another person to fit that ideal than it ever will be to wait for fate to take its course. People subscribing to the myth would rather build a soulmate, consequences be damned. So women will attempt to build a better beta or tame down an alpha, while men will attempt to turn a whore into a housewife, or vice versa. One of the most bitter aftertastes of having awakened to the red pill truth is abandoning old paradigms for new. I have described this before as akin to killing an old friend, and one friend that needs killing is exactly this mythology. Disabusing yourself of this core fear is vital to fully unplugging yourself from the old paradigm, because so much of femme-centric social conditioning is dependent upon it. As I told you, all of these myths are working together, and this is its core power. So when you truly leave this myth out of your system, you're pretty much immune to the rest. Dropping the soulmate myth isn't the nihilism a lot of people might have you believe it is. If anything, it will free you to have a better, healthier future relationship with someone who is genuinely important to you. A relationship based on genuine desire, mutual respect, complementary understanding of each other, and love, rather than one based on a fear of losing your one and only representation of contentment in this life. In any relationship, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. And this is a foundation of any relationship, not just intersexual ones, but family, business, etc. relationships as well. It is a dynamic that is always in effect. For my own well-being and that of my family's, I need my employer more than he needs me. Ergo, I get up for work in the morning and work for him. And while I am also a vital part for the uninterrupted continuance of his company and endeavors, he simply needs me less than I need him. Now, I could win the lottery tomorrow, or he may decide to cut my pay or limit my benefits, or I may complete my master's degree and decide that I can do better than to keep myself yoked to his cart indefinitely, thereby through some condition, either initiated by myself or not, I am put into a position of needing him less than he needs me. At this point, he is forced into a position of deciding how much I am worth to his ambitions and either part ways with me or negotiate a furtherance of our relationship.
Good example of business. That is just an example for a loving relationship.
Yeah. The same plays true for intersexual relationships. Whether you want to base your relationship on power or not isn't the issue. It's already in play from your first point of attraction. You are acceptable to her for meeting any number of criteria, and she meets your own as well. If this weren't the case, you simply would not initiate a mutual relationship. Okay, this is all for today. I'm very tired.
Wow, you're 1 hour.
Yeah, it's been an hour. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. This was our first episode. We read The Red Pill with my wife. We read The Rational Male, Chapter 1, ONE-itis. The next episode, we will continue to read from the same episode, The Cardinal Rule of Relationships. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And please don't forget to write a comment about what you think. And if you want these kind of videos to continue, please like the video, okay?
Let him know.
Yeah. Take care. Goodbye.
Görüşürüz.
Görüşürüz.